the green, that's the north station. That's down here, the foundation. That's down at the depth, down at the nadir, down, way down at the very deep. Now the beast will go down forever, because the yayo says upward forever and downward forever. But there's always limits. So, I mean, for man. And so we can only go down so far or up so high. But the Great Spirit is always there. And so, by being at the foundation and being one with the Great Spirit at the foundation, which is down at the depth, down at the very base, and then by living there and creating light there, it helps everyone to align with, to become anchored in the light. Because during the time of Cephas, the light came down, and then it came down into man and anchored him in earth. So man is anchored down at the foundation, or down in the depths. He's anchored. And so by living in the light in the foundation, it helps everyone in their own anchorage. It helps them to anchor in the S, anchor in the light rather than anchor in self. And so that's what I meant by working in the green. Because man is still coming out of the darkness, he's still dripping with the dross of the uncleanness. And so it helps man to have a place of light. It gives him hope, you know, that there's a way forward and upward and out away from the strife that seems to be everywhere with him. The green is for, well, we can read this in Olaspi, it's for the diseased in spirit. Well, let's not misunderstand this. It doesn't mean that if you have the green light, or you can hold a green light, that you have that type of a spirit. But what it means is that type of a light is healing. It's a healing light for those who are diseased in spirit, the green light. But we don't have to live in the green light. We can live in the white light, in the light of the Almighty. And as that radiates outward and comes to the anchors of the other people who are anchored in the earth, they will, if they're diseased in spirit and all that, they'll perceive the greenness of it. They'll perceive the green light of it. And now remember that green, one of the meanings of the green light is corporeal harmony, or harmony of the soul. So because we're living at that foundation of light, we have that harmony of soul by serving Jehovah and by aspiring high and our good diet, that we can live and be emanating this, irradiating this light of cleanliness and purity, and even of holiness. You know, I mean, it's. But the idea, though, is that when it comes through and radiates outward, who it comes to, depending upon what they need, they're going to perceive the green light. Now they might even perceive it as brown light, another light that helps the diseased in spirit. And that brown light, and that has to do with being sociable too. And so that, because, well, now you've had seers in the past who have seen the brown, and they notice that people who have the brown light seem to be kind of selfish. So they say, well, if you have brown in your aura, you're selfish, kind of thing. Well, that may be true on a certain level, but on another level, it may represent a way out, an avenue of ascension through sociability and through just being able to rise into, I mean, ultimately we want to get to white light. Now, white light is the combination, is all lights. It's all lights whatsoever. So it's the highest light. And now, not everybody's going to perceive the green light, because if they can rise above that foundation, they might perceive the light as a yellow light, or as a blue light, or as a red light, just depending upon where they are. Or they might perceive it as a white light, or they might there's all kinds of possibilities as to how they're going to perceive it. And of course that gets into the beast too, the corners of the beast and the extremes as to how they perceive the light and so forth. And so, now we can't do much about how people are going to perceive lights, except to the extent that if we're ourselves are coming from a good place, then we're protected. We're protected in that goodness. And regardless of how somebody else will take that light and interpret that light, it doesn't really matter, because in the sense of your own protection, and light is light. Now somebody may twist the light and use it for wrong purposes and all that, but still light is light. And so they might just go like this on little tiny steps, you know, up like that, little tiny steps, and it may take them a long time to get to where they need to go, but it's still, you know, it's still a little bit of light, and so it's helpful for them. There are people who, okay, well, that they prefer to labor in a certain light, and that's okay too. You know, they might perceive, right, I mean, they might prefer to labor in a yellow light, or in a blue light, or a red light. And, you know, that's everyone has that option. Everybody has freedom to do what they want. Whether it's wise that they should do so or not, that's up to them and Jehovah, you know, the Creator.
Yeah, well, the green light in the depths and corpora is the outermost, deepest, densest, and it's interesting that the medicine in corpora is green. Greens are our medicine.
That's right. Yes, the green leaves and the chlorophyll. Well, I had an experience this morning, a spiritual experience, which I guess probably would best be described as a dream. Well, I was with these people who were sort of drawn together. Well, it says in OWASP, you know, that like attracts like in all things. That's you know, the way that Jehovah set up his system in order. So I was trying to figure out what was going on, and then I sort of had a sense, okay, well, people wanted to do something together, and they wanted to make music together. So I thought, well, you know, that's a good idea, and everybody had this sort of camaraderie feeling, a feeling of a good feeling, you know, good things were going along and everything. But we didn't have any. There was no organization per se. There was no. We were just a group of people that sort of were together. It's like there was no leader. There was no leader. So people were just going by they were being inspired by the Spirit that was motivating them and animating them. And at first there were just a few people, and we just wanted to make this beautiful music. And at first there were just a few people together, but then when people come together, well, then the energy increased. Well, that attracted a lot more people, and pretty soon there were, well, I didn't really count them, but it seemed like there was getting somewhere around 10 and maybe over 10, because we started forming into a circle, so we held hands. Initially we started holding hands, but then some people would sort of space off and played, you know, and they were sort of dancing or whatever, And so the circle was never made complete while we, to go into the sacred circle, so we could get inspiration as to how to proceed. And so the energies were scattered and they never actually coalesced after that. But no one wanted to be a dictator. No one wanted to say, hey, let's, this, we wanted to, be in a circle here with, now most of the people did. And at times, some people held hands, the ones that were dancing. They eventually felt it and they held hands, but then somebody else would break off over here and do their thing and all that. So we never really had a complete circle. To get the, so the group would be as one with like the sense from the Great Spirit as to, how to proceed and everything. Well, that sort of dissipated after a while, but the circle itself sort of just, people gave up on it, I guess, so to speak. And so, but everybody still wanted to proceed, and still wanted to make music. Only now there was, it was like all these different levels of people connecting with each other and not really connecting as a group, so that Jerry at one point, or this guy who was this musician friend who I knew, he stood up and addressed the group, but people were sort of spacing out here and there, and some people would pay attention, others wouldn't. So everything was sort of like scattered and all that, but it was still moving forward because people still had that aspiration that they wanted to do this music, but they couldn't without somebody taking charge and saying, okay, well, you do this and you do that and you do this and you do that and so forth. And I think there was somewhere around, now it says in Owaspy that when you have 10, a group of 10, unless they're all celibates, it's a group of 8, but when you have 10 families together or 10 people, then, and you're going to do a project, it's wise to choose someone to then watch the entire thing, keep the entire thing glued together, held together. And I'm not quite sure exactly the numbers that we had, but we kept, we attracted some for a while, as long as we held that aspiration of wanting to do this particular good. It sort of attracted like light moths to a light, so to speak. But because no one wanted to be a dictator, and tell people what to do and all that, and because people couldn't perceive the spirit of the initial spirit of coming together and receiving, from the Great Spirit, from Jehovah, the inspiration as to how to proceed, it just really didn't proceed at all. And then people started just sort of manifesting their other focuses, other foci within their lives. Their standards essentially came forth, the standards that they hold inside. And so some apparently were, still eating meat, and maybe some dairy or something like that, eating animal substance anyway, ingesting animal substance of sorts. And so their focus went to that in part, and others sort of had an uncleanness about them. They moved toward their uncleanness rather than up toward the light. They would move back toward that. Well, at that point, I was brought back into my physical body, and I was thinking about it. And I was actually initially, I could still feel that good feeling of wanting to accomplish and upliftment of spirit. So that would be what you would call your signs of the times. That would be your espome. The spirit of the times in the milieu was there for this accomplishment of this good that was coming. Well, we're coming up now into a time of when man's going to feel the inspiration of Tave.